All right, everybody, we're back. Brand new Cabral Concept, episode 3365 of the show. If you want to follow along with the show notes, please do feel free to do so at stephencabral.com/3365. I want to go over today all of the top reasons, and we've got 6 main ones for you on why you get cold after you eat. So this is a common occurrence across many different individuals, but I will let you know that it is not healthy, it is not balanced, it is not necessarily normal. Now, does it mean that there's something great inside of you that is completely off? No, it doesn't necessarily mean that. But remember, these are all symptoms. And symptoms shouldn't just be squelched with pharmaceutical drugs or any type of palliative-based Band-Aids. But actually, we want to look at, that's interesting. Why might that be happening? Let me use this symptom as a barometer for whether I am healing and getting better. Because if you start to not feel as cold after meals, well, that's a great sign that you've improved whatever the imbalance may be. All right, so let's just dive right into all the different reasons. This will start to make sense. But if you or a wellness client or a family member often gets cold after you eat, here are the main reasons why. The first one, you may not know about this, but this is called postprandial hypotension. So we see this a lot just because we have a clinical practice. We work with people from all over the world, but a lot of people suffer from what's called dysautonomia. Now, I want to explain what that means. Dysautonomia means that the body struggles to stay in balance. So it gets histamine issues when it's exposed to heat or the sun, which is like itchiness and hives. After a meal, you get cold or you get an itchy belly or you get a headache. It's like the body can't stabilize itself. That's dysautonomia. You know what? The best way I was shared is to dysautonomia. I've got a highlighter in my hand. And if a stable body, even if you're not watching this on video, is you hold the pen right in the middle or the highlighter, and you can see it teeter a little bit. But when it's exposed to a stressor, it just goes back to baseline fairly quickly. The less balanced you are because of nutrient deficiencies and toxicities, the harder it is to get back to baseline level. You're almost there, but never quite there. You're still a little off. And then dysautonomia, and there are obviously different degrees of this, is that no matter how hard you try, you swing that pendulum, it gets there for a second, but you just go back to being out of balance. So this is often, we see this in imbalanced cortisol and adrenal-based issues. And so it's a great thing to test to see, okay, do I have any type of nervous system, adrenal-based issues? But a drop in blood pressure after a meal is called postprandial hypotension, and this is a real possibility. Now, a $40 at-home blood pressure monitor that you can get, you can actually test your blood pressure after a meal, take it 3 times, of course, at rest, relaxed, and you'll be able to figure if that's what it is. All my favorite products are at stephencabral.com/resources, and you can find a great Omron blood pressure monitor there. All right. Number 2 is this, reactive hypoglycemia. A lot of big words here today. Reactive just means happens because of, right? Reactive. And then hypo means low, and glycemia or glycemic is blood sugar, right? So happens because of, which is a meal, right? And then reactive hypoglycemia, low blood sugar. So after a meal, you get low blood sugar. All right. Why would this happen? Well, you eat and your blood sugar goes up. And then because there wasn't balanced protein and or fiber, your blood sugar drops very low. It's not able to stabilize, or insulin levels. So again, there's not just because of stabilizing with protein and fiber. If your body does not send out a great signal as to the right amount of insulin to produce to move the sugar out of your blood, and it sends too little, and you're like, oh, I still have a lot of blood sugar. It could send too much, right? Or it sends way too much all at once, and then it just drops you into low blood sugar. Now you start to feel cold again. We actually talked about that as one of the reasons yesterday. Hopefully you tuned into yesterday's show for brain fog. This is one of the 7 reasons, top causes of brain fog. If you didn't check out that show, you can do so after today's at stephencabral.com/3364. So a drop in blood sugar after a meal can be another reason. How can you find that out? A CGM, continuous glucose monitor, or a little finger prick on a $20 glucometer you can use at home. You can see if you've dropped below that 75 or so. All right. Or again, you can feel it. So believe it or not, you'll feel it if you start to fall rapidly as well. So you might take your blood sugar and you're like, I'm a 90. How can that be? Well, you were just a 160 and now you're a 90 in 40 minutes. Your body's going to feel like it's dropping quickly because it did drop, 50, 60 points or so. It's a big deal. Okay. Even if you never hit 70, which not everybody does, or 56, 58. Number 3 is this. Lowered thyroid function. Thyroid seems to come up in so many of these different conditions. And that is because, remember, it is essentially the thermostat for the body. So if you think about it, if your thyroid is responsible for circulation, overall inflammation, nutrient uptake, mitochondria, and so much more, even our hormones, well, we'd say if we're low in thyroid, hypothyroid, we could feel cold post-meal. It's absolutely true. So if you don't know your free T3 levels and/or free T4 TSH, this would be a good thing to test for. You can test for cortisol and thyroid and all these things just literally with a hormones test, an at-home hormones test called the stress, mood, and metabolism test. And you can find that at stephencabral.com/shop. Just search stress, mood, and metabolism test, or direct link is stephencabral.com/hormones-test. If you don't want to run it with our practice, no problem. Just see what the lab is, and you can run it locally with your favorite practitioner or virtually with an integrative health practitioner. All right, number 4 is cortisol dysregulation. This goes back to the first one. Dysautonomia and essentially the drop in blood pressure, but it's not always cortisol. Like a drop in blood pressure could happen because you had a high potassium meal, not enough sodium. That could be a possibility. That's definitely could be a cause for hypotension. All right, but cortisol dysregulation can be the effect as well. So after you have a meal, if you are someone that is prone to wild swings in cortisol and specifically low cortisol, you could feel chills, shakiness, dizziness, lightheadedness, uneasiness. Not enough cortisol-based production could make you feel all of those lows. So it's an important one to look at. I mean, cortisol is a big regulator along with excitatory neurotransmitters like norepinephrine of body temperature, heart rate, and blood pressure, without a doubt. Too low drops that blood pressure, can drop blood sugar as well. So again, when you look at it, we're going back a lot of the times to blood sugar, blood pressure, and then circulation. Those are kind of the big 3, but it revolves with different systems of your body. Number 5, gut imbalances and immune-based reactions. All right, you eat a meal and you were sensitive to some of those foods. What happens? All of a sudden, your body's immune system now begins to attack what it considers to be a foreign pathogen that you just ate. The proteins, the amino acids, bacteria that might be on the food, etc. And so what happens? The immune system begins to go to work, and that can sometimes pull circulation away from certain parts of your body. So that's a big one to look at, and we see that all the time in our practice as well. Fix the gut issues, fix so much with the body. It's a big part of it. All right, the last one is this. Now, I know it might seem ridiculous, and I totally get it. But some people, when they eat cold food, they get freezing, where others, they eat cold food, they feel completely fine. I will let you know that eating cold food and not being able to regulate your body temperature is an issue. It is not a good sign that your body is balanced. Now, if you're outside in a snowstorm, sitting in a pile of snow, drinking an iced coffee, it could make you more cold. I get it. But many people are in a climate-controlled environment. It's 70 degrees in the room that you're in, and you're drinking an iced herbal tea, a smoothie, you're eating an acai bowl. If you immediately get so cold, especially in the summertime, there's an imbalance there. What is the imbalance? Could be cortisol, could be thyroid, could be nutrient deficiencies, could be gut-based inflammation, could be a lot of different things that we look at. I shouldn't say a lot, like 4 to 6. That's it. But it is a sign that there is an imbalance because there's no way that you should get so cold that it goes over your whole body when you just ate it. Now, of course, do you need to eat these cold foods? No. And I'm not saying that you need to. You can let a smoothie warm up for 15 to 20 minutes. You could add your favorite protein powder to oatmeal instead, something warm, like whatever works for you. You don't have to have cold things. But if you can have cold things, that's when it's a sign of an imbalance. That's why I talk about that with caffeine all the time. Caffeine isn't the worst thing in the world. If you have balanced adrenals, you're feeling good, you had some food first, some breakfast, you decide to have a cup of coffee. For a lot of people, it doesn't raise their heart rate, doesn't spike their blood sugar, doesn't spike cortisol levels. They do just fine, right? So I always say that doesn't mean you should drink caffeine, but you should be able to, right? Like that's how I look at it, is like you shouldn't need to have the caffeine for energy, and you shouldn't not to have to stay away from it. So it's like when you look at it, you should be balanced. Either way, you should be balanced. And it's a great sign that if you're not, okay, whether you want the thing or not, let's work to look at what those symptoms could be telling us. That's what we're all about, finding the underlying root cause. Hopefully today's show was helpful. I talked about, the blood pressure monitor, the CGMs, the stress, mood, and metabolism test, but all of these things give you insights into your physiology, into how your body works, your bioindividuality. That's why, although I love social media and I love all the posts and I love all the content, it's just too much. You need to know what works for your body. The best thing that you can do is test. Test with a blood pressure monitor, test your blood sugar, test stress, mood, and metabolism, or look at the whole Big Five. The Big Five is your insights into your whole body, food sensitivities, gut health, heavy metals, nutrient deficiencies, all of the things it tells you without having to get your blood drawn from a phlebotomist, right? So it's easy. At-home lab sample, urine, saliva, couple snips of hair, really easy to do. You can find that at stephencabral.com/big and the number 5. But just check out those 5 tests. If you don't want to run them with us, like I said, I'm okay with that. Totally fine. I want you to know that they exist though, so that you can run them locally or you can run them with an integrative health practitioner, your choice. All right, everybody, hopefully this show was helpful. All the show notes will be at stephencabral.com/3365. Have an amazing day. Share the show with anyone you believe it could serve. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything. Functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.